Welcome to the Security Operative podcast. This is Tony O'Brien of Security Operative Consultancy Services, here to share with you my perspectives from the world of security and risk management. Enjoy the episode. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 33 of the Security Operative podcast, the show where we talk all things security industry, risk management and security consultancy. A little bit of a shorter one this week. Obviously, last week's one we had an interview with Mr. Josh Reeve. It's gone down very, very well. Great to have Josh on the show. The reception's been really good. The feedback's been really good from all over the world. So we've got an Australian audience that's listened to a good bit, and an Irish audience, and plus our normal internationals. Went down very well. So it's back to listen to me. Probably a little bit of a shorter one today. I'm recording this today on the 25th of March. Just in the week that the new Irish Security Industry ERO had been published and is waiting to be signed. So guys are looking forward to pay rises if it ever gets signed, and a little bit of improvement in some of the work conditions. We just put an article out about that. Monday coming up, we have our free person safety webinar, which we put out there. 100 tickets sold for that. Still one or two available if people still want to book on. The Eventbrite link is on our website, in the blog page. But this week I want to talk to you about something that has come up a little bit over the last couple of weeks in my consultation with a couple of security providers. It is certainly something that comes up quite regularly in the industry. It really comes up when things go wrong, particularly in the workplace relations or the labour court, or in personal injury cases when things go wrong. And that is, I suppose, the difference between having safe working practices in your role and developing a safe system of work in your role. So I'm going to talk a little bit about health and safety law, in particular Irish health and safety law, but I know the UK health and safety law is exactly the same in what it talks about, and many other modern countries have exactly the same kind of analogy in it. It certainly does talk about having safe working practices and making sure that the conduct and the behaviour of people when they're carrying out their duties, and I'm talking specifically, I'm not talking about health and safety here, I'm talking about from a security professional's perspective, that they are carrying out their duties in a safe way and they're being supervised and things like that. But there's a big difference between having a safe work practice and having designed a safe system of work. And what the regulations and the law stipulates is that you must employ safe systems of work. So what I mean by a safe system of work is that it is documented. So if I look for a second at the piece of legislation I'm talking about, and in Ireland it's the Safety, Health and Welfare in the Workplace Act 2005, in particular Section 8 of that. And the UK, I believe it's Section 2, duties of employers in their legislation. But over here, we have Section 8, and particularly Section 8E, I think it is, yeah. It talks about providing systems of work that are planned, organised, performed, retained, and revised to be safe and without risk to health as far as is reasonably practical. So the system of work must be planned, organised, and performed. Later on underneath that, it says we have to provide people with instruction, training, and supervision to be able to apply their duties. So what that means is that when we're applying a safe system of work, so the development of a safe system of work should lead to the implementation of safe working practices. Sometimes what we find in the security industry is that a working practice develops and it just happens to be safe, but it was never designed that way until one day it goes wrong. And something happens, and potentially there's an employment claim, or potentially that there might be a personal injury claim, civil case taken. And then the question is asked, okay, so where is your safe system of work? What was the safe system of work that these people were supposed to be following? Oh, well, we told them to do this, and this is what we always do. Well, that is not a safe system of work. That is a working practice that has developed. And it happened to be safe up to that point, but then it fell apart. But you've nothing to say that everybody was doing it in the same way, everybody was told the same thing, that it's actually based on a proper, competent and sufficient risk assessment, which is really, really important, I suppose. You know, if we develop a system of work, it should be based on evidence and data that this system of work is safe. It's a safe system of work. It has been designed based on information, data and evidence. A safe working practice, I suppose it's about judging success by the lack of failure. So we say, okay, this is a safe working practice because nothing bad has happened yet. Without actually basing it on evidence of well, what would happen if something bad did happen? Is it just the law of probability or chance that nothing has happened so far? So very, very important for security providers when they're designing their site security surveys, when they're rolling out with new clients to deploy, when they're designing their policies and procedures, their assignment instructions. So like we talked about in our episode on writing security policies and procedures and conducting site risk assessments, the information gathered in those things feeds into the safe system of work. So there has to be a document spelling out, some will call it an SOP, it might be a RAMS or a method statement, a risk and method statement. Could be just a toolbox talk type thing, you know, but effectively a step-by-step process of how that will then be carried out. And everybody has the same consistent level of application then. Based on that, then you might have your training plan. So here's how we're going to, this is the instruction we've given to people. And now we're going to train them. And then we're going to supervise them to make sure. So the output of that instruction and training from the safe system of work should be the safe work practice. And we're going to supervise that safe work practice to make sure that it stays the same and it is applied consistently. And that's important that you have. That's the backup you need when something does go wrong. Now, that's not to say that doing that will always prevent something from going wrong. Things will still go wrong. But at least when something does go wrong, you're safe in the knowledge of knowing that you did everything that was reasonably practical to prevent that from happening. An example, let's talk about a kind of a worked example. It might be a simple one. Let's talk about nightclubs. That's a very good example. And I say that part of your duty as a nightclub or an entertainment security person is effecting the removal of people who might be drunk, disorderly, aggressive, or violent towards patrons. That's part of your job. And the safe working practice is that you and your buddy go over, you take hold of them, one arm each, and you lead them to the door. Okay. And then something happens on the way out. Guy's arm gets broke on the way out the door. Civil case comes in. You hurt me. You injured me. I've suffered an injury. I've suffered a loss. Now I'm going to take a case. Okay. First thing your insurer is going to look at, or if they bring in an expert witness, they're going to say, okay, show me the system of work that these people were following when they undertook that task. Show me the system of work that was related to that task. Show me the risk assessment that said, you know, what are the risks you've identified from the task of removing a person? What are the control measures you expect to be implemented? And when you last looked at it, based on that risk assessment, what is the procedure you gave to the staff? Show me the proof that you trained them in that, and then show me that they're supervised in their activities to make sure they don't go beyond that. And that's what's going to be needed. Saying that, oh, we told them you grab an arm each, that's not a safe system of work. It might be a safe work practice until something happens. Safe system of work is you have a risk assessment. You're saying, what are the risks? You've identified the hazards. You've evaluated the risks. You've put in place a control plan or a treatment plan. And based on that, you've designed an SOP that enforces that treatment plan. And that might be around the numbers of people required, a communication plan, the types of technique, the types of after incident support that are in place. And then you've supervised a number of these incidents that show that the guys that you have implementing the work task are actually following that work task. And that's a safe system of work. It may be retail security, detaining a shoplifter. I'm not saying good or bad course of action. I'm not getting into that at the moment. Safe system of work. What's the risk assessment? Have you identified that it's a lone working activity? It's not a lone working activity, shouldn't be. If there is two people, who are those people? What level of capability should those people have? What level of training should those people have? How should they approach? What should they say? What equipment do they need in order to approach them? Teaching somebody a scone and say you're trained in an arrest procedure is not a safe system of work. What are they supposed to do with the person after that? And then showing that they have been supervised and somebody has reviewed previous incidents or incidents live to make sure that they are being followed. That is a safe system of work, and that's suitable and sufficient risk assessment. That's reasonably practical when something goes wrong. So like I said, just because nothing has happened does not mean you have a safe system of work. It means you might have a safe working practice at the moment, but safe working practices leave things open to the balance of probability. On the off chance, if something outside of the norm happens, then that safe working practice fails. So I told you it was going to be a pretty quick one today. I try to keep it as short and to the point as I could. It's something that comes up quite a bit. Like I said, I've just been speaking to a couple of security providers about it last week. We've just put a couple of security providers, one brand new company set up this week through PSA 31 in Ireland, and one through the CCTV installers. We've got one gone through their recertification this week as well, and we've got two more due for new contractor status next week. And it happened to come up about, okay, we're designing an assignment instruction. Our assignment instruction was running to 50, 60, 70 pages, and we were saying, I've seen these before, and the people I used to work for, these should only be 5, 6 pages. Telling people that. That is not. An assignment instruction should form part of your safe system of work, and it should indicate to people. On the flip side of that, like I said, and I'm getting a bit off, I know I said I was going to finish a moment ago, it's also then used then as a performance management tool when people are not. So if you begin supervising the activity and somebody is not standing to it, it might be a retraining opportunity, or it might be that the person needs to go through investigation disciplinary. But if we go through an investigation disciplinary and the person goes, I didn't know that was the way I was supposed to do it. Well, saying, well, we've always done it that way, you should know, is not going to wash. You know, here is the procedure you were giving. Here is the training you were given on it. This is the risk assessment it's based upon. Why are you not doing what you were told to do? We've been supervising and we've seen you're not doing it, so why are you not doing it? And then it's up to standard or out. So like I said, when we're developing policies, procedures, risk assessments, it's based on safe systems of work, not just safe working practices. So it's worth, when you have guys out there now under pressure, working in things like retail environments and stuff like that during pandemics, or you're sending guys out remote work in the protective services sphere, or you have people working in buildings now that have less occupation in them. It's worth looking at now, not just your safe working practices happening on the ground, but what are the safe systems of work that are built around those things. So that's all for me. Back next week, I think, with another interview session. Kept it short and to the point this week because we're probably going to have a longer one, and we'll possibly do some kind of synopsis episode after our person safety webinar. I'm not going to record the person safety webinar just because of the topic that's been discussed, the audience that's arriving, and they may want to ask questions that might be quite personal to them, so I'm not going to record it. I might record a synopsis episode or a summary episode going through what we talked about on it. And then we might have another interview episode after that. So from me, again, Tony O'Brien here, Security Operative Consultancy Service. This has been episode 33 of the Security Operative Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for listening to the Security Operative Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show and got some value. If you'd like to follow more of our activity, you can find us on any of our social channels at Security Operative Consultancy Services. See you next time.